when we're talking about soft skills in the maritime environment, I think they're probably among the most important and the most overlooked of the whole industry. It's clear that if you're not good at it and you haven't been trained, you can and probably will put yourself and those around you in danger in a very short space of time.
Good day, everyone. I'm Catherine Logie, hosting the Better Working Lives at Sea podcast, a Nautical Institute production made possible through the kind support of the Seafarers charity. In this series of podcasts, we will be exploring some of the non-technical skills that seafarers and maritime professionals use in their daily lives to improve operational safety and competency at sea, from leadership, mentoring and soft skills to effective communications and culture. These are the skills that help crews to thrive. For each episode, I'll be joined by an industry expert to share practical insights, real experiences, and ideas that you can apply directly at work. Neil, you made a strong opening statement there about the importance of soft skills at work. You've been in shipping for a long time. We've known each other for many years, and you've had a very diverse career as a seafarer, as an HSEQ manager, and now you work for a leading international maritime authority. Thinking about your own personal career and experience, Neil, how did you learn about and develop soft skills, and do you think it's ever possible to master soft skills truly?
Well, when I started my career, it was many, many years ago, and it was in the age when we had what I call a monoculture crew. You had a group of people who all came from more or less the same area. You joined the ship together. You stayed together for a couple of years at a time. And as the junior, you learned from those around you, and the soft skills that you learned by example, and you learned by mentoring and by friendship and by personal development with those around you as you learned your technical skills. They weren't something that you were directly taught. It's not like you went to college to do that. Can you ever master those skills? I don't think so. I think we're constantly learning. I think we're constantly developing. And I think it's like every other muscle in your body. If you don't practice those skills, they will degrade. They will get worse. You honestly continually have to practice what you do and how you do it to get the best result for people.
Yeah, sure. But we talk about soft skills, but in fact, they're hard skills, right?
Yeah.
And I know this term soft skills is sometimes referred to as interpersonal skills. Now, I'm not a psychologist, but what do you think about people's personalities? There's a kind of scale where some people are naturally high or low, perhaps, in terms of a spectrum of emotional intelligence. Do you think this matters in maritime? And if so, can you give us any examples from your experience of where maybe soft skills or emotional intelligence has actually helped or maybe even hindered in a particular situation?
Let me start by saying I really don't like using the word emotional intelligence, because I find it just puts me on edge. It makes me think that somebody's saying you're not good enough, you aren't clever enough to do something. I think emotional management, emotional development, they say the same thing, but it sounds better and it makes people feel less guarded, which is odd because when we talk about personal intelligence, we don't mind using IQ at all, but that's the way things are. I think from my personal experiences, there are lots of different scales. There are lots of people. Some people are aware of how they communicate to others. Some people aren't aware of how they communicate to others. I think when I look back at my career, when I first started my career, I was quite good at learning things quite quickly and wanted to share that information and share that intelligence. And those around me who didn't like that so much, I was called arrogant. I was called overbearing, too pushy, and those were the ones who wanted to knock me a little bit. Those who wanted to help a little bit would say, you need to let others speak first before you speak. And it really frustrated me at the time because I thought, well, I know the answer. So why can't I just give you all the answer and let us move on to something else and stop wasting everybody's time? It took years for me to understand that you need to bring the team along. You need to develop that team. And in my early career, I would sit in meetings where I'd taken on board that you've got to let everybody else speak first. And if you ever saw me, I would sit there and my body language would be absolutely telling you, I thought I was wasting my time and this was just a complete waste. And that's where I say you have to learn those skills. You have to understand that, yes, you need to bring the team along. Yes, you need to let the team develop. You can mentor, you can guide. And the more knowledge you have, the better you can become at doing that. And then controlling your body language and not making them feel like you're just there because you have to be and you're waiting for them to catch up with you. And that's all part of those skills. And there are people out there who don't understand that and don't learn that in terms of being able to communicate with people, being able to show those skills. I have a great example of when I was an HSE manager, we launched a behavior-based safety campaign where it was all about getting everybody to speak up. To if you see something, tell somebody about it. Stop somebody before they get hurt. Stop something before it happens. And we launched this campaign, and I had one of the deck ratings walking along, and I got a call from a master as the HSE manager saying, I've had this incident on board the ship. One of my ratings was walking along the deck, and he saw the second engineer working on the lifeboat outside the ship's rail. And he stopped and he told the engineer that you're outside the rail. It's not safe. You should be really wearing a harness out there. Can I go and get you one? And the response from the second engineer was a blunt, basic, polite version was, no, stop bothering me. And I know how to do my job and don't you tell me how, in maritime language. And if you don't like that, go and tell the captain. And because the AB felt empowered and felt that he did go and tell the captain. The end result was, the AB got a commendation for acting as the way we'd asked him to. The ship got a new second engineer, and a great near-miss report went out around the whole fleet. Everybody could learn something from it. And then we sat there and thought about it a little bit deeper, and I thought what an epic fail it was in terms of communication of skills and soft skills. The AB didn't have the skills to be able to tell the second engineer that he was in danger in a way that the second engineer could hear and understand it and act upon it. The second engineer couldn't hear what the AB was saying, couldn't process what he was saying, and didn't realize or didn't understand, or was so focused on getting the job done that he didn't respond in the way that he should have responded, or could have responded. And that to me was an epic fail across the board, a fantastic near-miss result, a fantastic incident missed, but actually in terms of communications and soft skills, a real epic fail. So we then moved on and then ran a massive safety campaign in trying to help people with communications over the next few months to try and improve that, to try and, look at not just here's the cause, a guy outside the rail, oops. Why couldn't he listen? Why couldn't he hear? How couldn't the AB talk and tell him what he needed to hear in the way he needed to hear it? It comes with the modern way we're crewing vessels a little bit, I guess, and we haven't adapted the way we train people. The modern multicultural crews who are on board for 2 or 3 months at a time, who don't necessarily know each other's culture, don't know how to speak to each other in a way, use maritime English as a common language. All of these things don't help us in terms of those soft skills and the development and making sure that we can communicate what we need to in a way that we can all understand it.
Wow, thank you, Neil. You've packed a lot into that, and there's a couple of anecdotes. So if I could try and pull out some common themes there. You mentioned language among multicultural crews, which obviously is a subject very close to my heart. Culture in itself is a huge topic. And then you talked about your own experience of learning when to speak and when not to speak, and when to allow other people time. And then you gave this very interesting example of the rating and the second engineer, and commented that the second engineer perhaps didn't do what he could have done. Can we unpack that a little bit further? What do you think the second engineer and the AB might have done differently? Not to be perfect, but just to give each other a little bit more leeway for understanding, perhaps.
I would have loved it if the second engineer had taken a moment to go, why is an AB, why is a rating of the ship coming to me and saying, I've got to stop doing what I'm doing? Why would he be doing that? Why couldn't, I'd have loved it if he'd have been able to step out for that moment and gone, yes, I'm focused on getting the job done. but actually someone is telling me there's something else going on around me that I have not noticed. My situational awareness isn't there. I've missed something. And likewise, for the AB, I'd have loved it if he'd have been able to go and get through that message. Hey, look, I know you've got to get this job done. I know we're time pressured. I know it's the lifeboat and we're coming in, whatever it was, we need to get this job done. But there's a bigger picture. You might be in danger, and we really don't want you in danger. I want to protect you. I want to help you.
And I think your words there about the bigger picture are exactly right. It's how to get that situational awareness through listening, understanding, taking a pause to really try to maybe understand what people are saying, rather than what you're hearing, which is maybe two slightly different things. We could talk about this for all day. So if we believe that soft skills do matter, as we've said, then how can educators, maritime educators and employers of seafarers encourage this development of soft skills? And also, what can individuals themselves do you think, Neil?
I mean, it comes as part of your personal career development, but as I said at the beginning, when I started out, people were telling me all of these things, but they weren't giving me any idea of how I could solve those problems. They weren't taking that next step. They were telling me what I was doing wrong, identifying the problem, but not helping me to find a solution.
So it's a lack of constructive feedback?
It's a lack of constructive.
Okay.
It's not, yes, well, potentially, yeah, but it's also, how do you take that next step? Or look, let me help you. Instead of sitting there looking bored and frustrated in a meeting and looking like thunder and your body language is, how about just relax? How about just go with the flow of things? How about take a notepad out and just make some notes? And as people are speaking, make some notes about what they're saying. And then when you get to the point where it's time to help people along with the solution, identify the people who've given those great ideas all the way through and help them to develop by saying, look, George said this was a way to do this, and Peter said this was a way to do that. I think those are really great ideas. And the next step of those is blah, 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 blah.
And it's the and, not the but.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's that difference. But for me, it took some time, and I came across a fantastic coach who helped me to just change that language that I was using, and to be able to understand that there are lots of different levels for everybody. Everybody develops and works at a different pace, and as part of a team, you've got to bring that whole team along. And you've also got to remember that everybody in a team has different roles and different paths and different skills that they bring to that process. So those things will, if you can encourage those and develop those, that's great.
Yeah, and I suppose with interrupting you, sorry, what you mentioned about the AB is also recognising that it's not necessarily about being the subject matter expert or the highest ranking officer, perhaps, but also about respecting and listening to the voices of the people around you, because they may see something that you miss. We've all got our blind spots, right?
Absolutely. And situational awareness very rapidly dissolves into target fixation. You've focused on getting the job done. And in the maritime industry, we have for many, many years focused on technical skills, and we focused on get the job done. And don't get me wrong, having technical skills is absolutely important. When you're out there in the middle of the ocean, you can't pick up the phone and call somebody to come and fix it for you. And if you dial 999 on most ships, you get the bridge. It's not like you're going to have emergency services who can come and help you. So you have to have those core technical skills, and they have to be taught. But alongside them, if you want to get the most out of people, you want to energize people and engage people and have them motivated and be driving towards whatever your end goal is, using those soft skills, developing those soft skills is going to give you so much more. It really does. It lets people dive in.
Yeah.
If you can motivate one of the lowest ranks AB on the ship to talk to your second engineer and say, you've missed something, not in a disrespectful way, I've seen something, I may be right, I may be wrong, but let me communicate that to you. And then you respond with that as, thank you for telling me that. I hadn't missed it. I'm aware of this, and I've got blah, blah, blah to protect me, whatever it is. Or thank you, I did miss that. Let's go and solve it.
Yeah. So it's really a relationship based on trust there, regardless of rank and role.
Everybody out there is trained. They're all trained to do a role. They're all trained to be specialists. And in the days of minimum manning, everybody on board is critical. You don't have any spare manpower available. They're all there for a reason. They're all there with specialist skills to do something. So,
okay, so the industry is experiencing a lot of change at the moment. It's digitalization with technologies, and I hardly tell you because I know that you're involved in a lot of this. But there's also some increasing recognition now on the impact of new technologies on seafarers. Do you think we need to think more about human needs in the digital era? And again, where do we invest time? Because there isn't unlimited time for training. There's a lot of new technical skills that need to be trained. How would you recommend going about this?
I mean, I like what the Nautical Institute's doing to start with. We have the STEER project, which is a long-term research project that's looking at exactly this kind of thing. And the aim of it eventually is to come up with a toolkit of some kind that can help seafarers to implement technologies and work with technologies. I think whenever I look back at how I've implemented new technologies, new processes, new procedures on a ship, I've made sure I built into that development some time for people to get used to it, some time for people to learn this skill and develop that skill.
Yeah.
But I think that's quite often overlooked. I think when a manufacturer has sold a product to a ship owner or a ship manager and they've installed it on the ship manager and ship owner's there, it's ready to go, use it.
Yeah, exactly.
And we often rely on the maker's guide and handbook, which is on a shelf that never gets looked at again. And technology's helping us there an awful lot. Modern technology in comparison with what we had before. If I look at radars, if I look at charts, the first radars were a rotating screen with a blip and a pencil marker that you used to mark on the screen to get your courses, and now they're automated. Now it's a touch of a button, or it's even automatically picking things up, and it's linked to the other technologies on the ship, so you know the name of the thing that you're looking at or what it is or where it's going before you even look at it.
Yeah.
And the more we can do that, the more we can bring the shore-based technology, which is user agnostic, user friendly, I don't know what the right words are, designed to make it simple for the user. If we can bring that more into the maritime technology, we'll get much more out of it. We'll get better returns off the technology is much quicker.
So maybe to paraphrase, we need to be looking at skills in the round then, not just at technologies and the skills required for technology, but also the soft skills or the interpersonal skills that go along with it, because that's a very broad area. There's no such thing as just one interpersonal skill, right?
No, there isn't. You're absolutely right.
We're having to cover more and more, it seems.
Yeah. And we need to understand that when we put something new on there, we need to teach people and give them time to understand and learn and get the best out of it. We also need to remember that in 3 or 4 months' time, they're not going to be on the ship anymore, and the next team are going to be there. And we have to make sure that that team are able to use that technology and have been taught that technology and the skills to go with it. And the more soft skills that we teach and are able to use, the easier it will be for those people to come on board and pick up what's been going on.
Yeah, sounds like another discussion for another time there.
Oh, yes.
We're out of time now, I'm afraid, Neil, but I'd just like to thank you for your insights. It's been great having you here with us today. Thank you very much for listening to Better Working Lives at Sea, the Nautical Institute podcast generously funded by the Seafarers Charity. We hope today's discussion has given you practical insights to support you, whether you work at sea or on shore.